What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm back here again with another deck profile. Hold on, let me close this door. Perfect. I'm back here with another deck profile. We're going to profile Phantom Knights here today. But I do want to say thank you guys to all the subscribers. We're sitting at like 600 subscribers. I never thought I would reach this many subs here on this channel just doing deck profiles. So once again, to all the subscribers, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And let's keep on going. Let's keep on doing this. Let's keep on running these deck profiles back. We've been doing really good on the channel, so I can't really say anything bad about it. So yeah, I mean, awesome. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 1,000 subs. Let's do this thing. And without further ado, let's get into the Phantom Knights. So this is a deck that is something like, that people just overlook. Like, this is always, I feel like Phantom Knights and Burning Abyss are decks that people overlook. They're both level 3 strategies. They both revolve around the graveyard. They both revolve around rank, XYZ summoning, and just they have a whole bunch of different mechanics. And also they have a link as well. And they're kind of like archetypes that facilitate traps use into their strategy. Phantom Knights is now linked with Raid Raptor and Rank Up and all that other stuff. So they have a couple more items in their toolbox, which is why I'm showcasing Phantom Knights today. So if you're still watching, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. All right, so I mean, as far as the standard goes, you're going to be running 3 Torn Scale. Torn Scale is going to be your combo starter. He's your Foolish Burial on summon. Then when you summon another, I think either the Phantom Knights monster, yeah, it's like when another Phantom Knights card in your graveyard is banished. While this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So essentially, you're never going to really use that. He's never really going to be banished. He's just going to kind of keep cycling through, making rank 3 plays and other stuff. He's very, very free. But you need him to start off your combos. You're going to be running 3 of your Silent Boots. Boots is just busted in this deck. You can basically banish him to search out a... I think it is the Phantom Knight Spell and Trap. Yep. So he can special summon himself from the hand. If you're not sure what they do, I mean, you can always look them up yourself as well. But for the most part, everybody should know what these cards do now. They've been out for quite some time. And then you've got the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. And Cloak is essentially, when you banish him, you can add the Phantom Knights cards from your deck to the hand. So there's a difference between the Phantom Knights and Phantom Knights. So you'll see a little bit of the difference. And then you're going to be running 2 of your Ragged Gloves and then 1 of your Stain Greaves. So I feel like this lineup is pretty dope. To round out the rest of the Phantom Knights cards, we're going to be running 1 spell, 1 Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic. I'll explain this here shortly, but you're going to be running 2 of your, you're going to be running 2 Fog Blade. Then you're going to be running 1 Phantom Knights. We'll do 1 Wing. We'll be running 1 Wing and then 1 of your Shade Brigandine. So that'll be kind of like your... that'll be kind of like your Phantom Knights, like straight Phantom Knights cards lineup within the main deck. This is going to be fairly standard across the board. I don't think if you can kind of mess with the ratios of the gloves and then the Stain Greaves, you might be able to cut or add somewhere around there. Let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the deck. So for the rest of the deck, you're going to be running 3 Cage Musha Knight. Essentially what this card is this card is just an extender. Whenever you normal summon a level 3 monster, whenever you normal or special level 3 monster, you can special them from your hand, but you can't use them as synchro material. He's kind of got that old text in there to kind of like prevent people from doing things, but he really doesn't. Just because of the fact that he's like an old synchro era card and they were like, Konami was trying to be smart, like, oh, you can't use him as a synchro material, but then they come out with XYZ, and then he can still be used as fusion material and link material. So he's still very, very good. He's just an extender from the hand. Run three of them. You're going to have a lot of level threes. You got another extender here. It's Psychic Wielder. Wielder just kind of facilitates being a tuner and making some synchro plays. And also, you draw into them, you can get them out of the deck. And, the same thing with Psychic Tracker as well. Then you're going to be running some dangers. You'll be running like Jackalope, and then you'll be running Danger Tsuchinoko. And kind of round out the rest of the deck, to kind of give you a hint what else we'll be playing. We're going to be running Reinforcement. Obviously, that's standard for all the Phantom Knights. Foolish Burial, standard for pretty much the Phantom Knights cards. Then we're going to be running one Harpy's Feather Duster, and the tip card will be one Infestation Pandemic. So if you don't know what we're running in here, some tech options in the deck, then hopefully that gives you a little bit of a hint. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the rest. All right, so as far as our hand traps, our interruptions within the deck, we're going to be running the triple Nibiru, fairly standard, triple Ash Blossom, very standard, right? So this is like standard for this format. What's not so standard is we're going to be running 3 triple Tactics Talents. I feel like this card is very strong. The interaction on your opponent's turns are very, very strong this format, so I think it's kind of needed. And then you're going to be running 3 Book of Eclipse. 3 Book of Eclipse is something that you're definitely going to need this format. Kind of helps you get your plays going. Also stops your opponent from interacting with your stuff. You can activate it during your standby phase, flip the crap face down, or they can waste a negate on it. And that's kind of what you want. You don't really want them to negate your combo starters or your extenders. And then you've got a Call by the Grave, which is obligatory within the strategy. Pretty much any deck, right? And then we're going to move on to your extra deck. So as usual, you're going to be running 1 Rusty Bardiche. You can probably up this count to 2. I don't see why you wouldn't. It's probably good at 2. It is a very good card. And then you can run 1 the Dark Charmer, 1 Isolde, and that's just because of the Phantom Knights. They're all, warrior monsters. So, that link summoning for this gives you obviously access to search out 1 for free. And then you're going to be running, of course, you got to run your Cherubini. Cherubini just helps you kind of get things going, especially if you're struggling. If you got it turns 2 level 3s into just a Foolish Burial and then the start of your Phantom Knights engine, which is amazing, right? Then we're going to move on to our Exceed. You're going to be running 1 Levier, the Sea Dragon. The Sea Dragon is going to help you bring back banish stuff. You're going to be banishing things all the time within this deck. Then you're going to be running 2 of your Phantom Knights of Breaksword. Breaksword is just standard as far as I'm concerned. Breaksword is very standard within this deck. Then you're going to be running some rank up options, and what I do really like in this deck is that a lot of the rank up options are just very, very, very strong. And those ones, you're going to be running pretty much 1 Evil Swarm Ophion. Evil Swarm Ophion is going to be essentially, love that DT glare. Evil Swarm Ophion is essentially going to be your means to outing or stopping your opponent, just floodgating your opponent from doing anything. None of your monsters are going to kind of encounter this type of floodgating, since you're running all very low level monsters that kind of get you into bigger, stronger monsters. Then you're going to be running 1 Raiders Knight, okay? And Raiders Knight is a rank 4 that can kind of upgrade you into some of these other choice options, which I'll post right here. Arc Rebellion is a very good card that you can run with Raiders Knight. You can have Raiders Knight rank itself up into Arc Rebellion. Then once Arc Rebellion's on the field, he can't be destroyed by battle or by card effects. He actually cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is actually really good. And then you can also rank him up into Dark Requiem, which is also a really good, very strong card as well. Dark Requiem kind of provides you some negates. And then, yeah, I mean, it's a very, very, very strong card. He can suck all the attack off the field, kind of OTK. And then you're going to run into some of these other options that we're going to run here. I thought that this would be a great card to add in there since we're using some tuners in our deck. Hyper Psychic Riser. This card is very, very underrated in my opinion. Because this card is actually a floodgate. If you've never read this card, this card actually can stop quite a bit of strategies. The first line of its effect says that monsters with less attack than this card cannot attack. So all monsters with 1900 or less attack cannot attack. So, and it's also if you buff this card up, and I'm just saying hypothetically, if you buff Hyper Psychic Riser up, then that could, potentially mean that more monsters cannot attack. But also the fact is that it says also neither player can activate effects of face-up monsters on the field with more attack than this card. So any monsters with 2100 or more cannot even activate their effect. So a lot of times when you bring out this card onto a board, and since it's kind of like a floodgate effect, you can bring this card out on the board, and your opponent has to, if they're going to negate the summon, they're going to have to do it right there. Otherwise, they cannot activate any of their effects, right? So that kind of can take your opponent really by surprise, especially if they built a board and they allow you to summon this thing out. They're not expecting this. So it's actually a fairly decent card. And, we can run it in this deck, which I do think is pretty awesome, right? So a couple of other tech options I would say, like for this deck, if you're going to run this deck, obviously you're going to need like more rank 3s. You're going to need more level 4 monsters and other things like that. So you can actually rank up into different monsters using the rank up strategy, right? So there are other cards that you can use for your rank up, which I kind of thought the Evil Swarm Nightmare would be a great card to rank up into. Also, you can rank up into Gaga Magician, and you can bring back some of your other rank monsters out of the grave with Gaga Magician. Evil Swarm Nightmare kind of acts as a facilitator for you to kind of just flip your opponent's cards face down. Like essentially, your opponent can't get through them, and that would be like a really good option. That'd be a really good option for your opponent to take. I've also seen other people running different strategies in this deck. Like they ran like a Cupid pitch as well. I'm not exactly sure how this would be made. So this is definitely something that I would take out. I would cut this for something way more important, like maybe another Rusty Bardish, maybe another Cherubini, maybe since we're running Psychic monsters, maybe a level 9. Since we're running Synchros, you can definitely run Barone within the deck. You can definitely make it as well, considering that we have the means to do so. So if you like the profile, please give me a like, comment, subscribe to the video. I've got more deck profiles coming out here within the week, so please stay tuned. Thank you guys for tuning in to YGO Podcast. Please leave a comment down below if you have any comments, questions, concern, and I will catch you at the next conversation. Peace, guys.